I transmigrated into the villainess of a novel. But I never did anything wrong. I even became friends with the female lead and married the gentle second male lead. I always thought I was incredibly happy, until I read my husband's diary. Turns out, he was reborn. All these years of tender affection were just to keep me from hurting the female lead. Staring at the pregnancy test results in my hand, feeling the tiny life stirring in my belly, I felt a sense of peace I'd never known. I'd lived in this world for 13 years, and in this moment, it felt like I finally had a true home, a real connection. I transmigrated into this novel world after my death, becoming the villainess with the same name, who had done countless terrible things. But I felt incredibly lucky. When I arrived, the story hadn't even begun, and I hadn't done anything to offend the main characters. In fact, because Stella was so cheerful, we became the best of friends, sharing everything. I became her wingwoman, encouraging her to pursue love, watching her and the male lead fall deeply for each other, and standing as a bridesmaid as she married the man she loved. Stella was the second person I wanted to share my good news with. As for the first, well, that was my husband, of course. My husband, Liam, was originally the gentle second male lead in the novel, always silently protecting Stella. I don't know if my presence caused a butterfly effect, but he stopped being Stella's loyal follower and instead showered all his attention and favoritism on me. We'd walked hand in hand for 13 years, and I genuinely felt loved, so I married him without a second thought. Now, our little family was about to welcome a new life, and I couldn't wait to tell him the good news. I pondered and pondered, thinking it would be better if he discovered it himself rather than me just blurting it out. I snuck into his study, sat down in his chair, and casually pulled open a drawer. An old notebook immediately caught my eye. I noticed it right away because it stood out amongst the neatly organized files. It must have been tucked away at the very bottom, and in his rush to leave, a corner had accidentally peeked out. I carefully picked up the notebook to look at it, feeling both amused and bewildered. It was one of those girlish notebooks from our school days, quite old, but it looked like he opened it often to write. The edges were curled, and the pages were yellowed. My husband and I had always been open with each other, so I had no qualms. I naturally opened it to browse. The first page had "Forever Love" written in large English cursive. I smiled to myself, my cheeks burning. Could this be a love letter he wrote to me? I took out my pregnancy test results, intending to tuck them inside. I wanted to give him my most precious love letter too. I carefully turned to the first page and instantly froze. My forever love, Stella. Stella, the female lead of the story. Suddenly, my blood ran cold, and my entire body went numb. It felt like my throat was stuffed with thick cotton, making even breathing difficult. My fingers trembled, yet they uncontrollably turned page after page, reading every word carefully. With a compulsive, almost masochistic drive, I read the entire diary, word for word. More than a diary, it was an unsent love letter, summed up in a few crushing words. Liam loved Stella, a love unrequited. Turns out, Liam was reborn. Turns out, Liam had always loved Stella deeply. Turns out, all his care and favoritism towards me were nothing but an act. He had to keep an eye on me, preventing any possibility of me harming his beloved. The joy of pregnancy had vanished without a trace, leaving only a bitter taste in my mouth. For 13 years, I never once thought of harming Stella, but in that moment, I genuinely envied her. I envied that a brief moment of kindness and warmth she offered could make a man love her so deeply for 13 years, even sacrificing himself to entangle with the villainess just to ensure her happiness. My emotions were a tangled mess, pain and despair intertwined. I didn't even remember how long I cried, only that my world felt horrifyingly unreal. Exhausted, I fell asleep on the couch until Liam came home and startled me awake. He reeked of alcohol, stumbling as he walked. "Honey, I'm home," he said, smiling at me. "Sorry, I had a work dinner tonight, got back late." I forced a bitter smile, one that didn't quite reach my eyes, but still performed my wifely duties. I went over to help him, loosening his tight tie and unbuttoning his collar. "Thanks, honey, you're the best." I looked closely at Liam and realized his thanks were perfunctory. If he had paid any attention, he would have seen the redness and swelling around my eyes. Perhaps putting on this fake act for me had simply become his habit. I helped Liam to bed, took off his socks and clothes, and even prepared to wipe his face and body. Drunkenness had lowered Liam's guard. He seemed to drop his vigilance, unconsciously revealing his true feelings with weary exhaustion. Stella, my whole body stiffened. I thought I was hallucinating. My gaze was fixed on Liam, my nails digging into my palms. Stella, the cruel reminder struck again. As if to torture myself, I instinctively imitated Stella's tone. "Liam, dear." Liam suddenly clutched my hand tightly, his hazy, drunken eyes filled with undeniable tenderness. "Stella, as long as you're happy, everything I do is worth it." That single sentence trapped me once more in this cage of deception. I felt like I couldn't breathe. Everything around me twisted and distorted. I stumbled out of the room, desperate to escape the bedroom. The love I had given everything for, from beginning to end, was nothing but a joke. I slept terribly. All the horrible things the original villainess, Chloe, had done in the novel replayed wildly in my mind. Chloe leading a gang to bully the female lead, Chloe hiring thugs to assault the female lead, Chloe using her family background to suppress the female lead. In my dream, Chloe suddenly turned around, and it was a face identical to mine. That face was twisted and grotesque, so terrifying that even I was horrified. Time seemed to fly by in the dream, and the male lead and second male lead quickly grew powerful, then exacted their brutal revenge on me. Liam's cold, indifferent eyes stared at me calmly, as if I were a dead object. "Since you enjoy ruining lives so much, why don't you experience it yourself?" I was brutally violated and left for dead in despair, abandoned beside a filthy dumpster, choking on my last breath. "No!" I screamed, waking myself up. I looked up to meet Liam's concerned gaze, which overlapped with the brutal, ruthless image from my dream. I trembled with fear. Liam was helping me pull up the blanket, looking utterly confused by my reaction. "Honey, what's wrong? Why are you sleeping on the couch? What if you catch a cold? Honey, are you mad that I drank too much last night?" "I'm sorry, yesterday's client was really important." I shook my head, enveloped by fatigue and in terror. I didn't want to say anything. There was no guest room in the house. Liam had once vowed that he would never make me mad enough to kick him out to a guest room. Even if he did, he'd be considerate enough to sleep on the floor beside me. But now, with actual conflict, I didn't even have my own space. He was clearly keeping a very close eye on me. Liam didn't notice my distress, frowning as he whined pitifully. Honey, my work dinner yesterday was so tough. My head is throbbing. Where's the hangover soup? I forgot. In truth, I hadn't made any at all. Liam came from an ordinary background, while I was a typical rich kid. He always said he wanted to earn my father's approval through his own efforts, to achieve more so he could be worthy of me. So Liam was a workaholic. He didn't accept help from my family, instead choosing to start his own business. In the early years, to secure projects, he often drank heavily with partners, almost getting a stomach hemorrhage. I loved Liam deeply and, as his wife, I always took great care of him. To help him with the harm drinking did to his body, I sought out many remedies, often taking care of him all night just to ease his hangovers. If I hadn't known his true intentions, perhaps I would have continued to be a dutiful wife, just like before. Yet, in reality, my efforts were all for naught. Chloe used her family background to harm Stella. I can't let her have any chance to hurt my beloved Stella. I must make a name for myself in the business world, gain enough power to contend with the Chu family's old man. If they hurt Stella like they did in the previous life, I will make the Chu Corporation pay a heavy price. Liam pushed himself relentlessly, only to gain real power and protect the woman he truly loved. Honey, what's wrong today? You don't look well. Are you feeling sick somewhere? Should I take you to the hospital? I stared blankly at the man before me, wondering how much sincerity was in his concern now. I was debating whether to confront Liam when my phone suddenly rang. The caller ID showed two big words, Stella. Liam quickly grabbed the phone and handed it to me, his eyes urging me to answer quickly. I numbly tapped to answer, and Stella's cheerful voice rang out. Chloe, honey, we said we'd go to the art exhibition today, do you remember? I remember. Then let's just meet at the coffee shop in front of the art gallery. Noah's on his way to work and can drop me off. Okay. After hanging up, before I could even open my mouth, Liam spoke first. You have plans with Stella today? I'll drive you. No need. Your company isn't on the way. Liam lovingly stroked my cheek. Silly girl, everywhere is on the way when it's for my wife. Go get changed. Liam stood up and went back to the room to get ready, his back radiating happiness. He was going to see his beloved, of course he was thrilled. And he clearly forgot that he had just said he wanted to take me to the hospital because I looked unwell. After all, in Liam's world, nothing was more important than Stella. When Liam dropped me off at the coffee shop, Stella was happily sipping on a mocha cocoa frappuccino. She naturally handed me a cup of hot milk and cheerfully greeted me. Liam gently cautioned me. Girls shouldn't drink too many cold drinks, it's not good for your body, and it makes your period hurt. You're not a kid anymore, you should take better care of yourself. Stella laughed and teased. Oh, wow, you two are so sweet. You're flaunting your affection right in front of me. Liam smiled and casually added, you too, drink fewer cold things. All that built up was just to give her a warning. The hot milk in my hand suddenly felt scalding hot. Actually, I didn't even like cold drinks. The care he wanted to give was never truly for me. Alright, I get it. You're so naggy. Only Chloe can put up with you. Liam chuckled, then turned to me and said, I'll come pick you two up for lunch. I remember you said you wanted to try that new Spanish restaurant in Uptown. Once suspicion set in, I realized how clumsy his acting really was. It wasn't me who wanted to try the Spanish restaurant, it was Stella. But I had been so blinded by love, and he had tried his best to deceive me. Now that the truth was exposed, I realized how naive I had been. Stella linked her arm through mine. Okay, you go now. Don't interrupt our girl time. She pulled me inside, still chattering excitedly. Chloe, I'm super excited about Master Gu's work. I instinctively looked back at the man not far away. He was constantly observing us with a scrutinizing gaze, but the moment his eyes met mine, he instantly reined in his emotions. He put on a show of deep affection, an act of tender sweetness. Liam, aren't you tired?